everyone. I have 5 more cards to share, and this set is sort of a challenge to myself to use it up or use pieces of the kit that I didn't use very much. So I'm starting off with some rectangles. They're all about the same width. The cloud one is a little longer, and then I have the light green cardstock that comes in the kit. And I'm going to kind of fan them out on the front of the card here and figure out the placement of what I like, and I'll mark it with a pencil so that I can go ahead and glue it down afterwards. And don't worry about the cloud one that's longer. I will trim that off in a moment. So here I'm gluing them together, and then I'll go ahead and erase the lines. And then here is another piece in the kit, the chipboard frame. I still have several of them left, but I'm using this one in this card, and here I'm marking where the papers are coming out under the frame because I don't really want it to show there, so then I just trim that off nice and even and flat. And then I can go ahead and glue these down to the card front. And there's a little bit of paper that wasn't glued down, and I go ahead and do that afterwards. And then I can take the chipboard frame and I'll add a little adhesive to it and press it down. And figuring out the placement here in the bottom right of the card, kind of move it around a little bit and see what I like. And then I have this die cut from the die cut pack. There were lots of florals, and so I still have several to use. I'm just placing some thin mounting tape in the middle there so that it doesn't press down, so that it kind of makes up for the dimension in the chipboard frame, and figuring out where it overhangs so that I can add a little bit of adhesive there. And of course I can never put it down and just leave it there. I always seem to be adjusting things, making minor adjustments. Now we're going to take the stamp set, and I love this tiny sentiment, "Miss You." And I'm using a scrap from the light green cardstock, and I just cut some tails in it and then stamped in pink ink onto it. It's a subtle, but I really like how it goes on this card, and it brings in some more of that light green. So to finish off the card, I have 3 of the sequins and 4 of those tiny flowers that we had a die for in the kit, and I still haven't found the die for the centers of the flowers. But these look just fine without a center, and who knows, I mean, it was a tiny die, and I may never find it, or I might find it in a long time from now. So this is card number 1, using some scraps and the light green cardstock. For card number 2, I wanted to use this gray pattern paper, and I cut it this way specifically because I wanted it to look a little bit like rain. And I really loved the raindrop pattern paper, and my challenge here was trying to find another use for that bright gold paper that came in the kit. Here comes a boo-boo. Oh, I almost glued it down upside down. Yes, I've done that so many times, but thankfully I noticed it in time and flipped it right around, because those raindrops, they do not fall upward. They only fall downward. So it is a directional paper, but thankfully I caught the mistake in time. And here's another little mistake. I was gluing it down and realized I wanted to put the cloud behind, but fortunately the wet glue does take a little while to dry. So here's another cloud. I've only put mounting tape at the bottom, and then the umbrella person, again, it's only mounting tape on one side because I'm going to have it overhanging on my panel. And on the back of the panel was fun foam, so it has that dimension. And again, I'm going to glue the side that doesn't have the foam for the umbrella person and put them on the right hand side here. And then to finish off the card, I've taken the stamp set and the sentiment, "The clouds will clear and the sun will shine," and embossed it in gold embossing powder. And I'm going to glue that down. And you'll notice I have corner rounded 2 of the corners on the panel, and so to coordinate, I rounded 2 of the corners on the sentiment cardstock. And that finishes off card number 2. Card number 3, I am using the light purple that came in the kit, the cardstock. That was my challenge there. I also used my Swiss dot embossing plate and a heart die, and then that's that same gray pattern but cut at the other angle, and then the pink pattern. And I have used the die to cut out this branch in gold, but as you can see, I trimmed off just a little bit of the end there, and I think you could probably leave it on, but I wanted it off. So yeah, if you're remaking this card, you can decide for yourself if you want to trim that off or not. So I'm arranging my hearts, and then when I like how I have it arranged, I'm going to use some wet glue to connect them, and then just use the wet glue again. I think I do have to press it down quite a bit because there's some texture and dimension from the dots, but it gets down eventually. And then the other challenge portion of this card was using up these chipboard stickers, and that's kind of a squirrel creature there, and I think that's the one that I really thought went pretty well with the purple. And then we're also going to use some hearts. So now it's time to glue down this little branch, and I have it coming out on the left hand side of the two hearts. And yeah, I'm definitely using my acrylic block a lot because with that added texture it takes a little bit longer to stick down. It needs a little more pressure. And I'm placing the squirrel creature right over that area where I snipped it, so if it looks odd at all, he's covering that up anyway. So yeah. And then the chipboard sentiment, sending my love. It's going to go in the bottom left. And that little chipboard heart, it's kind of a gray tone, I'm going to put in the bottom right. And then to finish off the card, I have 2 of the die cut hearts that came in the pack. And it's sort of, I don't know, it's like a pale pinkish color. It sort of matches with that other heart. And then the gray, bluish gray. Mostly gray. And then I've used my tiny heart punch to punch out another heart in gold. And then that will finish off this card, and here's how it looks. Sometimes just using an embossing folder helps add to the and not look as plain. So for card number 4, I am using the navy cardstock, and I really love this old oval die that I have from a previous kit. I do have other oval dies, but this one seems to work really well. It cuts out the oval and the frame, so I cut out the frame in the navy cardstock and the oval in a piece of vellum, and then I glue those down sort of centered left and right, but more towards the top of the card. And I'm just adding adhesive on the edge of the oval because it will show through, and so I didn't really want it to distract. I didn't want it to show through a lot. So in pressing that down, I also added some adhesive in the bottom because it's going to get covered up by my flowers. So I'm using this chipboard sentiment, "You are never alone," I think that's what it said, and these more flowers. And I have a variety of foam on the back. I have some thin foam and then some fun foam. So there's a little bit of difference in the dimension. And again, another one of those branches. This time I cut it out in white. And I'm again just going to put it on the left-hand side. And it looks good by itself. It does come together to form kind of an oval, but it looks good alone as well. Another scrap of the navy cardstock. It's kind of a royal blue navy. I'm just calling it navy, but you know, it's a little bright for a navy. And I've cut some tails in it, and that's where my sentiment is going to go. So I'm going to put the little sticker with the "You are never alone." And I make a big mess. I tell you, I'm so messy because I dropped it, but that's why I usually have some towel or something handy nearby, and thankfully liquid glue usually dries clear. So yeah, then I take the backer off. I'm going to place down these flowers, and of course, you know, they're not going to stay put. I'm going to move them around a little bit, but it is what it is. I never do it perfectly the first time. And then finally, that beautiful little rose one, that just has a piece of fun foam on it, so I have to add adhesive. I think the white one had mounting tape and fun foam, so I had to add a little bit of adhesive to the fun foam part. And that finishes off card number 4. And I think my favorite might be card number 5 of this set. So I am using up some of the light blue cardstock that came in the kit, and I really loved this pattern paper. I have some of this white with the light floral pattern, and again I've put it onto the fun foam and have to add a ton of adhesive there. And I use my acrylic block. It kind of moved around though, so I had to fix that. No, we do not want it to glue crooked like that. Thankfully I have some time with the wet glue. And then this is another piece of that gray pattern paper. This time I wanted the subtle lines to be going across horizontally because I'm thinking of a water, like a lake or a pond or something, and I'm placing it in the bottom of my panel here, and it will really serve to anchor the focal image and give it a place to rest. And so I like that effect. And then I have all this foam on the back of these swans. That was the other challenge. I wanted to use them. Here they are swimming in to land on my little pond in my card. And there was another die cut piece from the die cut pack. So cute. This heart has that same shade of blue. So I'm just going to glue it down onto the swans with just a tiny bit sticking out below. And again, the branch cut out in white. This time I'm kind of putting it under. I fiddle with it a bit. So it's a little bit onto the left, but mostly it's kind of almost centered. And I had to press it down quite a bit to get it to stay put there. And then to finish off the card, I just have 2 more of the die cut hearts from the die cut pack, the darker shade of blue and then a lighter shade, and I'm just going to glue them together up here in the top of the card. And I just love the light, just elegant look of it. Yeah, so that's card number 5, and I will show you all 5 cards again. And let me know in the comments, do you have a favorite? Also, what do you do with your scraps from the kits if you get these kits? So this is my challenge, and you've got to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more, because guess what? I've got some real scrap busting cards coming up next, and I am challenging myself to use some of the smaller scraps. So I've got a card that uses some thin strips as well as medium-sized strips, and then I'm working out a couple more right now to try to use some of the smaller scraps. So look forward to that soon. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.